Welcome back to the REI Marketing Weekly. It's your host, Josh Culler with Color Media and REI.video. And today I've got a special guest on the show coming from sunny California down in San Diego, or as one of my favorite characters likes to say, San Diego. If you guys aren't familiar with Anchorman, but that's a little bit of a joke. So I got Tony Javier on the line today. Tony, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good over here in sunny Northwest Indiana. So
Very
a
nice.
little
Very
bit of a
nice.
different world, but it's okay. So Tony is a friend of mine who we've actually had conversations back and forth about getting his influencer kind of marketing up and going. Now he's going to be starting a podcast here very soon, and I'm going to allow him to talk about that kind of stuff and other things that he's got going on. But I'm excited to have Tony on the show today. We're going to be talking about a little bit of automation and how to get that going with your marketing, but also building a team around that automation and how to form that. And we might dip into another conversation later on. If not, we'll have him back on another show to talk about TV ads and why he's doing that, which is an interesting topic to talk about. But before we get into it, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the REI Marketing Weekly. Go check out the newsletter. If you haven't already, just go over to reimarketingweekly.com. Got a weekly newsletter that goes out every single Saturday morning. And basically what you're getting in that is obviously this interview, but there's a lot more of other information. I've got resources, updates, and brand new things that have come in the works with whether it's social media or marketing in general. And then also my tip of the week. So make sure you go subscribe to that newsletter, reimarketingweekly.com. Make sure you are checking out rei.video, a platform where you can film your own video content, whether that's with your cell phone, your camera, Zoom, whatever, it doesn't matter. However you can film your own videos, whether it's testimonials, property walkthroughs, videos for your website, anything at all. Send it over to rei.video. Make sure you're using coupon code FIRSTVID at checkout for 50% off your first order. And it's 48-hour turnaround time with unlimited revisions. So you get exactly what you're looking for. So one more time, rei.video. Make sure you're checking that out. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and jump into the show for today. Tony, excited to have you on, man. Do me a favor for the people that don't know who you are. Introduce yourself. So a little bit of the origin story of Tony Javier, and then what you got going on right now that you can push people to in order to allow them to connect with you a little bit more.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited. So I've been in the real estate business for 20 years now. Started in 2001, I guess 19 years technically. Bought an info product on TV called No Down Payment by Carlton Sheets. You might be a little too young to know about that, Josh, but
Just a little bit maybe.
yeah, so he was back old school in the 70s all the way to the early 2000s. Actually just passed away, I think, about a year ago. But he got a lot of people into real estate, especially when real estate wasn't as sexy. So I just learned how to buy properties with no money down, 2001 out of actually in college. And so I built up a rental portfolio. I buy and flip houses. That's my main business is flipping houses. I actually just started a co-working space, 17,000 square foot co-working space in Wichita, Kansas, looking at expanding that business. I run mastermind events and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of the overview of what I've got going on right now. But, real estate investing is what got me to where I am. It's provided a very good living for me. And I've got a great team in Wichita, Kansas that runs the operation for me. So I was telling you the story just a little bit ago. About 10 years ago, I was working 80 hours a week in my real estate investing business and just realized I had to make a change. So I went on this journey to figure out how to build a team, systemize my business, systemize the marketing, systemize the flipping. And now I don't look at houses. I don't meet with buyers, don't meet with sellers, don't go to closings. I've got my team that does all that for me.
So in other words, you're a business owner.
I'm a business owner. That is
Yeah.
correct. Which is I feel like a small percentage of us. So I work on the fun stuff. I work on, when I work on anything in my real estate business, it's typically marketing. So it's great to be on the show to kind of talk about what I'm doing. I can share whatever I can to help with that. I network with some of the top real estate investors in the country and some of the top marketers like yourself. So I know what's going on. I know what's working. I run masterminds myself. I've got a mastermind called Real Estate Masters, which is remmastermind.com. It's a virtual mastermind, and we're going to plan on meeting in person probably once a year. So if you want to connect, you can go there. But yeah, I'm interested to talk about marketing. If you want to talk about TV, we can jump into it because not a lot of people do it. It's low competition and high margins. It's the highest probably margin thing we do. So if you want to hear a little bit more about that, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, let's try to squeeze that one in. I'm really interested in talking about the way you've built your team around you in order to be able to run your marketing. Now, I feel like you mentioned that marketing is one of the biggest things you work on at this point. And I feel like that's just in nature for entrepreneurs and mavericks such as yourself and myself, because the reason is because marketing is ever changing. And just like our personalities probably are, is that we feel like if we're not moving forward, then we're just like dead, and we're not learning something new, then we're dead. And so marketing is something that changes all the freaking time. And so that allows us to, keep the hunt going and allow us to keep learning about something new and then implement that. And then we feel absolutely incredible when we implement it and then it works, but not all the time it doesn't work. Right. But it's just that feeling. Right. And so I feel like a lot of people, a lot of real estate investors, you even said it yourself, a lot of real estate investors try to do their marketing on their own. I mean, we call that bootstrapping. And at first you got to do all that, right? Like all the marketing is going to end up being you if you just get started. But at some point you got to learn how to hand some things off, whether it's the SEO, whether it's the video content, whether it's the social media management or running the ads or whatever it is. So on your end of things and being in the business for as long as you have, and you even said in the last 10 years, you've been, 10 years ago, you tried to figure out how to get out of that 80-hour work week and making sure that you're delegating as much as you can. So when it comes from the marketing perspective, what are you looking for when it comes to the team members and also the automation side of things when it comes to the marketing and merging those things and getting yourself out of the way?
Yeah, so a lot of it's been trial and error, to be honest. I mean, over 19 years, we tried so many different things. In fact, the background on TV is in 2005, I did my first TV ads. I only let it run for 3 months, didn't get a deal. And then at the end of the 3 months, I got my first deal that paid for the 3 months. But for some reason, I mean, I'd only been in the business 4 years at that time. So I was spending, it's probably about $2,000 or $3,000 a month on TV, which for me, that was a lot of money at the time. And I stopped it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just barely getting my money back. Looking back, I kicked myself because I started up again in 2012, 7 years later. And after I started it up, someone told me you need to keep it going for at least 6 months, if not 9 months, maybe even 12, to see if it really works.
Yeah.
And I started it up again, and sure as heck, the same thing happened. It took about probably 3 months to find my first deal, crushed the deal, and said, you know what, I'm going to continue forward. And it's been lately, about the last year, it's kind of dropped a little bit, but as of about a year or 2 years ago, it was our number one lead source by far. I mean, we were just getting a ton of leads. And the great thing about TV is that it helps all the other marketing. So if someone gets our postcard, if someone sees our Facebook ads, TV builds authority. I'm sure you know that, just like you do with video. You do a lot of video production. When you're on video, when you're on TV, when people see you in the spotlight, you are the expert and you're more likely to do deals. So I think you asked about kind of automation around the marketing. I like to do things that are kind of somewhat set it and forget it. So like TV, we look at our TV about once a month. At one time I was looking once a quarter, and it kind of bit me a little bit because we increased our marketing spend a lot on TV. And it took me about 3 to 6 months to realize that our marketing our response had dipped a lot on TV. So now we look at it every month, but it's one of those things where you get a TV commercial, you put it out. If it's working, you don't really have to touch it. And
that's truly automated marketing, though, is what that is. It's not like you're having to send a text message for, 6 hours a day. I like that a lot. So we'll go into the TV here in a second, because that goes into the realm of automation. So, but continue. Sorry.
No, all good. So I love TV. I actually just talked to someone recently that's crushing on radio. So I think we're going to try radio. We tried that. We did that again several years ago, tried radio for a few months, and it didn't quite pan out. So I'm going to build a radio campaign and try that again, because I think that'll feed off of our TV. Facebook and Google is the same thing. It's like you create ads, you put it out there. I've got a Facebook guy that's specialized in Facebook. So that's all he does is Facebook ads. So I outsource that to him. So I meet with him once a month. We literally spend 10 or 15 minutes, go through the ads and make sure they're performing. He tells me if I need to provide him any additional content. We look at keywords. It's 15 minutes a month. Same thing with Google pay-per-click. So those are paid ads that you buy through Google. Meet with my guy once a month. He looks through it. Are there any big changes? Any things that we need to change? Are we getting calls from it? Do we need to put additional ads out? That kind of thing. So between Google, Facebook, and TV, those are probably our main marketing methods. And again, it's set it, forget it. For the most part, just review it, monthly or quarterly. And then, we've tried a lot of other things. We've tried text messaging, we've tried cold calling, we've tried direct mail, and all those things have produced something. And we're actually going to start up direct mail again, because I think our market got super competitive. I think a lot of markets have gotten that way. Mm-hmm. But with the changes in the market recently, I think a lot of investors have paused their marketing and kind of stopped some of the things that they were doing. So we're probably going to test out direct mail again. I haven't done direct mail in about a year. And there are a lot more companies out there that have more dialed down lists and dialed down marketing and more systemization to it. So we're going to use a mail house that we can give the information to that we need. They're going to provide the list. They're going to scrub it. They're going to skip trace it. They're going to send the direct mail out. And all we have to do is track it and tell them every month, okay, this campaign's working. Go ahead and send out another mailer to that campaign. And so, anything I do, I try and automate as much as I possibly can so that I don't have to touch it. Because I try only work about 3 to 5 hours a week in my real estate investing business, so I can concentrate on my other businesses.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I built it out, is what can we do that has the highest return, that can be as automated as possible? Because, you can't just look at return on investment. You have to look at your return on time as well.
Yeah.
And what time you're spending in that. Because, if I'm working 40 hours a week and spending less money, I would rather spend a little bit more money and only have to work a few hours a week on, certain types of things.
Yes.
Even though I'm maybe making a little less money, my return on time is way greater.
Yeah. So I love this conversation. So I had a friend of mine, David Dodge, who's out of St. Louis, Missouri. He was on the show a few months back, and he was talking about this and talked about, the differences between, fishing and hunting. So fishing, you can put as many poles in the water as you possibly want. And if something catches, then you just go run over there, get the pole. And that could be your acquisitions manager or whoever it is that you have in that position to actually pick that pole up and reel the fish in. Yeah. Whereas hunting, you're having to actually go hunt for, your animal that you're going to kill, right? In order to be able to eat. And I think that's a great parallel when it comes to this type of marketing. So with, cold calling, with even sometimes direct mail, with text messaging, that's hunting. You're basically, actively having, like, if you don't text message, you're not marketing. So I think a lot of people get caught up in this thing where, text messaging is huge right now. Cold calling is huge right now. Mm-hmm. Direct mail has always been around, right? So those two things specifically, I feel like have been like at the forefront of everybody's marketing campaigns lately. And what's happening is people are doing this heavily, but then they're shutting off every other valve when it comes to, or pulling the poles out of the water when it comes to any other form of marketing. And you just can't do that. You got to have maybe a little bit of both. And you even mentioned that you tried those out, but you need to have as many poles in the water automated, and that translates to automated forms of marketing in order to be able to maximize your efforts. And like you said, not just return on your money, but also return on your time. So one question I have in regards to all of this is, how do you because you said you shut off, a few areas of marketing. And then you even mentioned, like, you've started up some things. You mentioned you're going to start up direct mail. How do you determine what you're going to shut off and what you're going to start up? Is it like a KPI that you're looking at in order to, determine, like, hey, after 6 months, we haven't gotten X amount of, leads that's come in, shut it off? How do you look at that and actually make the decision?
Yeah, so good question. So I'll start with the marketing we're doing now. Like I said, TV, we started with a $3,000 a month budget, give or take. We scaled it up to about $12,000 a month, which for a small market like Wichita, Kansas, which has about 300 to 400,000 people, that's a pretty good budget. 12,000. You get a lot of TV commercials. So like I said, we scaled that up to a certain point, and I stopped looking at it just because it was performing. Like I just didn't feel like I needed to look at it. And then all of a sudden, we just had like 3 or 4 really slow months about a year and a half ago. It just became super competitive in our market. And all of a sudden, our cost per deal went from $3,000 a deal to I can't even remember what the number was. It was crazy high. And so at that point, it's like, okay, we need to dial it down. So actually, we stopped it for a little bit, and then we restarted it a few months later at a much lower budget. And now we've kind of tweaked it. We've kind of upped it and lowered it just to kind of see where our sweet spot is. And we realized that spending $3,000 a month was producing about the same amount as 12,000 was.
Wow.
I don't know why that is. It's just the way it is. Maybe we were running too many commercials to the same people. But
well, anyway, maybe it could be that, but it's the fact that you kept your pulse on it so much and you saw that return, right? Like you were able to see that just because you're spending more money doesn't necessarily mean it's going to result in more leads. So yeah, it's important to understand why that happened, but the fact that you caught that, most people aren't going to look at stuff like that, and they could be throwing a lot of money down the toilet. So,
and I think it's just diminishing returns. At some point you do enough of something, the returns as you keep going is going to be less.
Yeah.
And then from a standpoint of the new things, like I said, I have a mastermind that I've got some of the top real estate investors in the country doing, 30 to 200 plus deals a year. And so I get to see firsthand what they're doing, and I get to share what I'm doing. We just reciprocate what we're doing on a monthly call. And so I get to see, is text messaging working for people? Is it not? What are the regulations? Are people getting sued? With direct mail, you get to see from a national standpoint, is it getting too competitive? And then you get to see new things like the radio. Like I knew that radio could work, but then I met this guy that basically just gave me the lowdown of here's what I do with radio. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. And I showed him what I did with TV. So now he's implementing TV, and I'm going to start implementing radio. So a lot of it has to do with just data, just knowing what other guys are doing, dialing down on it, getting to know the ins and outs of what they're doing, what the returns are. And then that way, when I implement it, I can compare it. If it's way off, then maybe my market's different than theirs is. Maybe, maybe radio doesn't work as well as it does in Dallas, Texas, for instance. So, some of it is research and getting information from other people, but some of it's gut feeling as well.
Yeah. I think along the lines with that is knowing your market and knowing your target demographic too, because you said it like Wichita, X amount of people, like a $12,000 budget was good. And then you can even bring that back down to a $3,000 budget, and it's still good because the population of the market that you're in. And, most people don't think about stuff like that. So knowing your market really well is that plays into everything that you do in marketing, because not just like what you actually do in your marketing, but the amount that you spend as well. And then how you critique and make decisions to either cut the cord or plug something else in. So I think that's a really good conversation. So I want to cap this off. We're going to talk, I'll have to have you back again to go a little bit deeper into some other things, but let's talk about the TV ads, right? So when it comes to TV ads, there's obviously, just like anything else in marketing, there's obviously mixed emotions about it. But I think the controversy between like going digital and online marketing versus like traditional marketing, which is radio and TV ads, stuff like that, or billboards, there's big controversy about that. But I really think that like there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on the market you're in, right? That this is why this conversation is so big. So when it comes to the TV ads, what are you thinking about? What are you actually putting out on the TV ads? And what advice can you give to somebody that may be thinking about doing it?
Yeah. So quick down and dirty about for the 8 years that I've done it is, so first of all, you only have 30-second spots. You can buy 60-second, but I've got a good media buyer. So that would be the first thing, is talk to a media buyer. Some people say go directly to the TV stations. But a media buyer for me, I found that I get better pricing because he buys stuff in bulk with different customers.
Sure.
And he's going to be more honest with me. He's going to say, this TV station is doing something different. I think you need to go to this one. So I feel like I get more of an honest opinion from my media buyer specifically. So you have 30 seconds. So one thing that I got from another real estate investor that does a lot of TV is we added a jingle. I think it's like 6 or 7 second jingle at the end.
Yeah.
And ever since we did that, probably 5 years ago, like my guys wear professional homebuyer shirts, and when they go into like grocery stores, people sing the jingle to them. I mean, people just know
I love it. I love it.
So that's one key is you got to do something that people remember you. For us, it's a jingle.
That's excellent branding, man. Like people underestimate totally the quality of sound when it comes to like, branding. So there's actually
a study on that they went into different places. I think they were national brands and said, hey, do you remember the jingle for XYZ? And the jingle hadn't ran in 10 years and people still remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was kind of interesting. But so you have 30 seconds. So with the jingle, I have 23 seconds. So it's like, I've got to get my point across.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a real estate investor, you probably know your points really well. They're probably mostly the same throughout the country. Is you're going to close quickly, the day of their choice, no fee. For us, it's no fees, no commissions, no hassle. We'll buy your home as is without doing repairs. So all the commercials that I do are basically that. It's talking about the pain points of what they are potentially going to go through, and solving those with, we are going to not charge you fees, no commissions, close in as little as 7 days is one of our messages as well. And we've tried multiple messages, and you got to know what works for you. And I do the TV commercials myself. So for me, I'm the face. People remember me so I live in San Diego, my market's in Wichita, but whenever I go to Wichita, people recognize me all the time. They're like, oh, you're that guy on TV. And so, that right there, I'm not saying you have to be on the commercial, but that could help build your brand, that personal touch, because anytime you deal with a person, it's a lot different than dealing with just a company.
But it's that demographic too, right? Like for me, the only ads I'm watching is when I'm watching a YouTube video. And as soon as the ad comes up, I'm putting my phone down, and I know within 3 seconds, it's going to have a button that says skip ad. So I go and click it, right? So I'm not watching live TV. I'm not watching TV where an ad's going to come up, a commercial and stuff like that. Like the only time I ever have done that is through watching live sports, which we don't have right now. But even then, like, I just like not pay attention. But I'm not that demographic that you're looking for. So the demographic you're looking for, they're looking for that personal touch. And when they do see you at the supermarket, when you're in Wichita, and they say, hey, I recognize you. You're the guy on TV that buys houses. And the way that Tony responds in that form, that's branding. So if Tony responds like, oh, hey, what's going on? Shaking hands and kissing babies and stuff like that, like you're going to build some excellent influence inside of a very small community, a very small market. That can really, really benefit you when it comes to buying houses in Wichita. So it's not just the TV ad. It's like what carries on through that. And it's the representation of your team that's walking through the supermarket with their shirts on and stuff like that. So, man, that's a good conversation. And I think that's it's something that's a very controversial way of marketing, but it really depends on your market and knowing your market, know what's going to work. So I want to dive deeper into this. Maybe I'll have you back on. We're going to go a little bit deeper into that because I've got a lot more questions when it comes to TV ads. I only know a handful of people that are actually doing this in their markets. And so like, we're definitely going to talk about this more, but we're out of time. I went over time and I apologize. Hopefully you don't have anything going on right now. But we're going to wrap this up. So thank you so much for sharing everything you have, Tony. I appreciate it, man. Just dropped some massive value and some really big nuggets for everybody here. So I want to give you the opportunity one more time. If somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about the Mastermind, I know you have your podcast coming down the pipe, and by the time this goes out, your podcast might be out. So if it is, then guys, everything is going to be linked in the description below. Make sure you check that out. So Tony, somebody want to get in contact with you, learn more about what you got going on the education side, or if they even have any questions about TV ads, what's the best way to make that happen?
Yeah, so go to remmastermind.com. So real estate masters, remmastermind.com. So again, some of the top real estate investors in the country. There's masterminds out there where you meet in person, and we'll do a little bit of that. But what I like to do is virtual meetings, so that we can meet more frequently, and so that people that don't want to travel don't have to. So if you go to remmastermind.com, you can apply. We do, like real estate investors that are full time in the business, but if you're not full-time, then we can potentially talk and maybe provide some other value to you, because we're going to roll some other things out. So love for you to come visit that and get in touch with us and see how we can help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, guys, we're going to have that linked in the description. Make sure you do go check that out. I actually know several people that are in Tony's mastermind, and just a great group of people. So go check that out. Again, links in the description. Tony, man, I appreciate the time that you've taken out of your precious day in order to be on the show here. Thank you for sharing everything you have, and I look forward to having you back again soon.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining in and listening today. If you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the show. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, head over to the homepage of this show. Leave a 5-star review. I'd much appreciate that. And thank you in advance. Leave some honest feedback. Reach out to me if you have any questions, josh@colormedia.com. Or if you'd like to be on the show, that would be absolutely fantastic. Make sure you are checking out rei.video. Film your own content. Send it over to the platform. Edit it in 48 hours. We'll do the heavy lifting for you, and unlimited revisions. Make sure you're using coupon code FIRSTVID at checkout for 50% off your first video. You get exactly what you're looking for, so go try it out. Thank you guys for joining in today, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.